Hi, I'm Jim Shaw from the Colonial Times Magazine and LexMedia. Here for our daily update. Today is Wednesday, April 8th. I think I'm losing track of the days. They're just going by every day. So I feel like it's Nightline. Remember what Nightline years ago, day, whatever it was during the hostage crisis, which turned, before it was Nightline, it was, it was just a report on the daily activities. So it was like day one, day two. So at any rate, I'm here today with Suzie Barry, my good friend, and a person who has been quite involved in the community for a lot of years. She's currently serving on the select board and is the immediate past chair of the select board, and has spent a lot of years. I know I worked with her for a number of years on the Town Celebrations Committee, where she served as the chair of that committee for a good deal of time. So I want to thank you for being with us today, Suzie, and welcome you to talk kind of like the daily update. So, I guess we should start off with, first of all, I hope everyone in your world is okay. And I know that you're coming from your home right now. So everything's good on your end?
Yes. So Jim, thank you for having me on today. So far so good. Everything is good here on my end. I do have 3 in public safety in my family. The one that's local with me is healthy. I have 2 out of state in public safety. One of them is in quarantine. They were exposed, so they're in the middle of their 14-day quarantine, but so far so good.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing today I want to mention is it is Wednesday, April 8th. It is my older sister's birthday, so happy birthday, Katie. She's doing well. She's a teacher who's, teaching remotely. And also to all our Lexington residents, whoever's watching, who may celebrate Passover. This evening is the first night of Passover, so we want to wish them a very happy Passover.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for that, and my greetings as well. So we usually start with the number, and it sounds to me like the number jumped up a little bit, but there seems to be a reason for that as well. So, let me ask you to start there, because I know a lot of people check the daily numbers up on the town website. So I know yesterday it was like 47 or so, but it's jumped up a little bit. So let's talk about that.
Sure. So yesterday the number was 47. Today it has jumped up to 62, which is an increase of 15. There is a little bit of a reason behind this. Lexington does have a few assisted living facilities and skilled nursing facilities, and the National Guard has been assisting in getting people at those facilities tested. And so that is part of the reason attributable to seeing this number going up.
Right. Okay. And it seems to be par for the course. A lot of communities, along with increased testing comes with increased positive results. So, it's not, people shouldn't read too much into it in that regard.
No, and we are also ramping up to the time that we're hearing from, the governor and lieutenant governor that we're going to see the surge. April 10th through April 20th is the time period that they are really concerned about.
Right. And, I know that we're not really posting quarantine numbers, but a lot of folks have been through quarantine and have come out of quarantine, so which is a good thing. And that number is getting better too. So, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. It may be too early to sort of look in that direction, but people really need to continue to be cautious in their everyday life. So I know when we talk about increased numbers, the other day we mentioned when I was talking, I believe, with the town manager, that I know that a Loft hotel has been working with MEMA on the sort of in the beginning to serve as a facility or a resource for National Guards folks and medical personnel and other folks that are sort of working in the industry, the medical industry. But they have since been selected as a place where the homeless population can come and be quarantined as well. So that's going on up there. Why don't we hear a little bit about that? I know that everyone's trying to work together to make sure that that this vulnerable population is taken care of and taken out of the mainstream, so they're not infecting others at homeless shelters and others. And it's actually served out pretty well. So what are you hearing on that front?
Sure. So when a Loft graciously opened their doors to the homeless population who had tested positive for COVID, they opened with approximately 13 patients. They're now up to 39. This facility has increased their health staffing. We are hearing from residents of Lexington who are being very supportive of the fact that a loft is being used this way and want to know what they can do to help these folks. The message that we want to give everyone is that they are being well cared for by the state, and meals are being taken care of and everything for them. So there's really no direct contact with them or any direct donations to them in terms of their needs are being met. So that turns towards, if people want to contribute to help within the community, the Fund for Lexington is accepting donations that between now and September 1st will be used to provide people who have had any COVID-19 related concerns to cover that. And all that information can be found on the website. So the people staying at the A-Loft, you know, it's a joint partnership between A-Loft, the town of Lexington, MEMA, FEMA, the National Guard are all really working together to make this whole situation work. And so far it's working pretty well.
Right. And what we're hearing too, particularly from the medical community and folks that are staying there from the National Guard, when people want to do something nice, show their appreciation, what they're saying essentially is, if you really want to say thank you, stay at home. That's the one way. That's what we'll appreciate, because we're out here trying to keep people healthy and safe and alive. You know, and you know, it doesn't make sense. It's sort of counterintuitive to get in your car and bring cookies or something. You know, it doesn't make sense. So what they're saying is, you know, if you really want to honor our service, please just stay home and stay with your family. So and along the lines of your, you know, the part about staying at home, I will say last night the town did take the step of closing all fields. We had already closed the playground, so basketball, tennis courts, even fields at the schools are now closed. There had been an uptick in people who are engaged in organized sports. Soccer, we're seeing Lincoln Field was being used tremendously. So all the fields are now closed, and the police department will be increasing their patrols of going by those fields and asking people that are participating in sports to, you know, move on. We really are all in this together. And if there's one thing I know about people in Lexington is they can rise to the challenge. You know, every year when it's voting day, I challenge the town that, you know, we can do better than a 10% when it's just a town election. And they will come out and vote. And we really can stay home. You know, we really can stay home. There are a lot of things you can do. You know, it's like I think back to the time when we were kids, before cell phones and everything else. We all spent time at home and we enjoyed it. You know, we didn't have all the same distractions we have now. It'd be kind of nice to just get back to an old way of life. So, but you know, it's interesting. You know, I know that you know, Lexington really prides itself in its community policing program, and I know the police department has no real interest in going out there and turning this into a police state. And you know, the decisions that are made to close parks are not done lightly or easily. But just like you mentioned, too many people were still out there doing things they should be doing, collecting in small groups, you know, even, you know, 5, 6 people playing contact sports like soccer or basketball, pickup games. You know, it just can't be done. And it's really all for the greater good. People just need to be a little bit more patient and understand that in time, this will all change, and we'll go back to what, you know, hopefully what we remember as a normal way of life. But I know the police, they're not looking forward to harassing people, you know, because that's not who they are.
No, that's not what this is about at all.
Right.
You know, but they have 2 people out who are positive. They have another presumptive, and they have some people that are awaiting testing on the police side. You know, we've had firefighters out awaiting testing. You know, and these are our frontline workers. We need them to be healthy, and we need their families to be healthy. So,
and I think people need to understand too, that when that occurs, when somebody, particularly a firefighter who's sort of housed with other firefighters, you know, when you're exposed, you know, or if you test positive, you know, all of a sudden the folks that have been around you have to quarantine. So all of a sudden you've got this reduction in force that you weren't anticipating. It's not losing one person. If one person tests positive, it's like all of a sudden 2 or 3 people need to quarantine, and that's a reduction in force that's a little bit more significant than one person. So, and I know the public safety community has been working, you know, they're doing yeoman's work to, you know, sort of make sure that the people in Lexington are safe.
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing too, based on their training, they are trained to run towards danger. And you call, they're going to come. They're still going to come. because that's how they're trained. And it's basically, for most of them, it's wired in their DNA. That's just who they are as a person. But we need to keep them safe as well.
Yep. Speaking of vital services, we were talking before we started here about trash collection. There's been a little change in trash collection. Normal trash collection in itself will continue as normal, but apparently bulky items is an issue with that, and apparently today's the last day for putting out bulky items.
That is true. Today, Wednesday, April 8th, is the last day that Harvey, our trash contractor, will be picking up bulky items. So bulky items would be, a mattress, a large, a TV, any of the electronic things you would put out, a TV, a refrigerator, a large metal thing. If you were doing some cleaning, a lot of people have been cleaning the garage or the basement, and you had that grill from last year that didn't quite make it, but you didn't get rid of it. So if you didn't get that grill to the street, they're not going to pick it up until this has passed. This is for the safety of their workers.
Right. And this, by the way, what would the items that we're talking about would normally require a 24-hour notice of Harvey as well. It's not like you can just put these things out on the street and expect them to be picked up. They require a notification. So for all intents and purposes, going forward, there is no more for the time being. Yeah. Right.
And the other thing I will mention is that starting next week, we do start our curbside yard waste pickup. So if you want to get out and work off some energy, you're certainly welcome to, put your yard waste to the street in the bags or in barrels that they will dump. And also Hartwell Avenue, the recycling center, is open for yard waste. Most of the other recycling containers up there are locked right now. They're not collecting items. But if you want to put it in your car and take it there, which you really shouldn't be out driving, now you can just put it to the curb starting next week.
Great. And by the way, if anybody's out, and not that I'm saying they should come up, but if they want to work off some energy, they're welcome. I'll stay inside. They can come rake my lawn. Put it out curbside.
Yeah.
I can only dream. So let me, talking about being out, I know what we're encouraging people to stay in, but people do have to go out for certain things, certain needs, grocery stores, other things. I know that the town has adopted, or not the town, but I think it's the state sort of new grocery store regulations about particularly, I guess, specific to the amount of folks that can be actually in a grocery store at a given time. So what is that all about?
Yeah, so the town manager participated in a conference call yesterday with the lieutenant governor, with all the other town managers and city managers in the state. And the lieutenant governor announced, and I think it was in the news today, that there's going to be some restrictions on grocery stores, convenience stores, and pharmacies, and that they will need to limit the total number of customers, employees in the store at any one time to 40% of the building's capacity, as well as there are other things they need to do in terms of putting markings on the floor for 6 feet of distance at the checkout register. If you've been out shopping, you might have noticed that several of the stores have already put up a piece of plexiglass at the checkout area. They'll be
Most
sanitizing.
everyone has, yeah.
Yeah, they'll be sanitizing carriages as you come in. So at first it is a little bit of an adjustment. Last week I went to Market Basket in Burlington, and Market Basket started doing this last week. So they're using one end of the store as the entrance and exit.
Right.
And there was a line when I got there, and it kind of at first took me by surprise because, we're not used to waiting. This is part of our society. We want what we want when we want it.
Right.
But, I had to wait outside for about 15 minutes and then got in. And once in the store, everyone was adhering to social distancing. And it was a very smooth process. But I think there's going to be some behavior adjustment that needs to happen as we move through this.
Right. And we encourage people, and I have one in my car. I use it mostly. I have caught myself not using it. But if people are going to move out and about, bring a mask along with them. I take my hat off to Mayor Walsh. He did his press conference the other day wearing his mask, and he's sort of walking the walk, which is a good thing. So as much as possible, if you're going out and you're going to be going to a grocery store, coming into closer proximity with people, doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it while you're driving in your car. But once you get out and step into a grocery store, it makes sense to use the mask if you have one.
I went to the post office the other day, and it was just me and 2 other people, but I had the mask on. So, yeah, that's
a good thing. You lead by example. Now, the other thing too, it's kind of a sad irony that you had mentioned this, that the price of gasoline is coming down so considerably, but people can't really go anywhere. So it's I guess you can fill up your tank, but maybe enjoy it while you can. I mean, I think it's probably a combination of the fact that there's less demand for gasoline because people aren't filling up their vehicles, and of course, the economic situation as it affects the oil industry. So, in the overall picture, but it's kind of, it's like, well, you can take a picture and you can say, remember, and you can tell your kids, I remember when I paid that when I was a kid. The old stories that we used to hear from our own parents. So, but at any rate, another important topic as we're getting closer to the date, people I think generally know by now that Patriots Day activities will not take place in Lexington, but I know the Historical Society and other organizations like LexMedia and the Colonial Times, we're trying to figure out ways to make sure that people have an opportunity to celebrate it in some way, shape, or form. So I know maybe you can talk a little bit about the virtual Patriots Day celebration that they're talking about over at the Historical Society.
Sure. So the Historical Society announced this yesterday. They are planning on a virtual Patriots Day, and some of this is already up on their website, which is www.lexingtonhistory.org. And they have some footage up from prior reenactments and parades. They've also done a great job with virtual tours of the taverns. So you can take a virtual tour of Buckman Tavern, Monroe Tavern, the Hancock Clark House. They also have, and when I clicked on it, I couldn't get it to work, but they have a link for a scavenger hunt. Now, I'm one that loves a good scavenger hunt, so I'm going to definitely check that out. But I will say it was a very difficult decision for the select board to vote to cancel the Patriots Day events. We've had to modify them in the past several years because of weather. And so while you're not sitting, we most likely won't be sitting here on that Monday looking outside at rain or snow or something like that. And your feeling is you want to go out and do this because we're so fortunate to live right here where the history happened. But you really need to stay home. We've heard from some groups that are saying, well, can't we just please, walk up the avenue, we'll walk 6 feet apart. And it honestly should not happen. Again, right during the time of the surge, it is not the responsible thing to do. So we're encouraging everyone to celebrate their Patriots Day this year virtually.
Yep. Well, we're talking about doing all kinds of programming for that day, actually for the weekend anyway. So we'll be running parades at the normal time of the parade. I think we'll select one from the past when it was nice and sunny. I know last year I remember squeezing it in between rainstorms. We were very fortunate. It stopped raining, the parade went through, and as soon as the parade finished, it started raining again. And it was really bad. So, so hopefully we can go back in our archives and find one where it was nice and sunny. We're also talking about running the reenactment at 5:30 in the morning, one of the previous reenactments. So if people want to get up as usual and see a reenactment, we expect that they'll be able to do that through LexMedia. So we're trying our best. Well, and we'll have some other things. We're going to go into our archives and pull out some past ceremonies like the USS Lexington ceremony and other things that take place that are significant in the community. I love the fact that they're doing the virtual tours of the houses because, it does boggle the minds that so many people who do live in this town have not ever really taken the time to go into those historical homes. Maybe this will give them a flavor, an idea that maybe once the situation resolves itself, that they'll actually take that physical tour in real life and experience it up close and personal, because it really is something special. I think, I don't have to tell you this. Lexington is a special place, with a significant contribution to American history. And if those farmers and citizens didn't stand their ground, at that morning on April 19, 1775, the world would look entirely different.
Right.
So
actually, over here, these are my Doolittle prints are over here. I don't know if they can. See, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
The 4 Doolittle prints. Yeah. So, significant part of our history.
I've never missed a Patriots Day in Lexington. Ever since I was a child, my father, we would put the car out in the avenue the night before when you could, back then when you could park your car in the avenue, we would always park in and then we would walk home and then walk back we'd come and see the reenactment. I think the reenactment had started again by then, but then we'd stay around town, as the family would just do all kinds of things around Lexington Center. and then go sit at the station wagon and watch the parade. It was a big deal. It still is for a lot of folks.
So I have missed one. I have missed one, and that was the year that my youngest child was born, because he was born a few days before Patriots Day, and I was out of the hospital, but I was home on the couch watching it, and I put all of it together because I was on the celebrations committee. Went in, had the baby, came home, and I'm watching it, and of course I'm critiquing it and yelling at LexMedia, not at LexMedia, but at the screen, like, how come
yelling
this?
at the television,
you know?
right?
Yeah.
Right.
But so I missed one.
Yeah. So
21 years ago, I missed one. Yeah.
I know the decision weighed heavy, particularly on you and Doug, because you've both been so involved in the planning of Patriots Day for years. You know, Doug more so with the Lions Club and all of the activities that they do. So, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, it's all about the greater good in the community. And as usual, we as a community will step up. We'll find our own ways to celebrate. You know, the Colonial Times is going to print lots of photos, and we're working on stories. I had an idea, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get it in time, but I thought it might be nice to do something about the presidential visits, a little bit of history on the two presidential visits, President Grant and President Ford. And somebody told me that the carriage that President Grant used is still around. It's part of one of the organizations that I think from time to time is in the parade. Not the Ancient and Honorable, but an organization like that. So at any rate, but we're going to find a way to do it. And, we hope people will enjoy at least the Colonial Times. We're going to find some great photos from past events. And again, at LexMedia, we're going to try to put out as much stuff as possible. So I know that we were talking a little bit about, and I know this is more of a school issue, but the fact that they've changed the schedule relative to the school vacation. I know that I'm going to probably try to reach out to somebody from the school committee to talk about this, but insofar that you know what's going on, maybe we can close with that. Sure.
I'm sure Eileen Jay, who's chair of the school committee, would be happy to come on and talk to you. I know Dr. Hackett's been really busy with the remote learning situation. So Dr. Hackett issued a letter last night to the parents with an update on remote learning. And the school department had done a survey of the parents to see how they felt about where, it was scheduled in the school calendar to have April vacation the week of April 20th, where basically you can't travel. How did the parents feel about having that Monday off for Patriots Day, but doing remote learning those other 4 days? And that would shorten the school year by 4 days. It appears that is what's going to happen. But I would say check in with Eileen to get the details on that,
right.
Or Dr. Hackett. But it looks like their final day now may be Thursday, June 18th. For all the students. They're still working out what the last day for seniors is, because that's always a different day.
Right. And I haven't heard anything. Seniors. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything in terms of graduation and how they're handling that. So.
Right. Well, like everything else, it's just, with sort of, you kind of work it out as you go forward. I was talking to Joe Pato yesterday about just the logistics going into organizing the town meeting. It's just, it's an awesome undertaking. So, and we'll all be better for it in the end. We'll all learn ways to do things that we never thought of before. So, but I feel particularly bad. I will mention this, that for seniors, if you haven't already applied, I know the Lions Club and the Rotary Club are still accepting applications. They're going forward with their scholarship programs. If you go to either of their websites, you can learn more about it. Get an application, and it'd be a good time to consider that. And I do know that other scholarships are being made available. That's just 2 that I know of. So, listen, I want to thank you for your time, Suzie.
Sure.
We appreciate all of your service, over the years, and especially now, when we really need people here in Lexington to step up. You're among those who have, and I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say how much we appreciate it. So thank you, and I wish you continued good health for you and your family. And
thank you, Jim.
I'll see you again soon.
Sure, and thank you to LexMedia for continuing to produce these shows and get them out there to keep everybody engaged. It's really important. This is social distancing. It is not social isolation.
Well, thank you for that. We just felt it was an important role for us to play. Everybody at LexMedia, and there are a lot of people involved in this. It's not just me sitting in front of my my iPad here. Once we do this, I take it down, I send it over to our senior producer, Terry, and Terry takes it and he turns it into a product that goes up on our teleview servers. And there's a lot of technical background to it. But we have all of our producers are still working. They're working remotely.
Wow.
We're able to do this. So we see it as part of our mission, and keeping people connected with government, particularly at this extraordinary time. So thanks for saying, and we'll continue to be here. So, all right, Suzie,
Okay.
thank you.
Stay well.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.